Hi, welcome back to Cozy Potato Games. My name is Dylan, and today we'll continue our series on character creation. Today, we tackle the most important choice you make your class. When creating a character, it's important to consider what abilities fit your character concept. However, in a meta sense, it's also important to consider your character's role within a party. While it may be possible to play a game of all bards or all clerics, you may be missing out on some cool synergy between a more diverse cast of classes. This video is for players trying to pick a new class, or for new DMs who may be struggling to recommend a class to a player, or for veterans who want a chill video in the background while they do game prep, or for me to show my players during a session 0. While you get some perks from your race and background, your primary abilities will be coming from your class. In this video, I will give a brief overview of each class. I will also give my ranking on a scale of 1 to 5 on how much I would recommend this class to a new player. That number isn't law though, you do what you want. I have grouped the classes into 4 categories. Some people may categorize the classes differently, but in my experience, the strongest parties tend to have one or more of each class from each group. You are by no means limited to these, and it's not like your party is screwed if you're missing one. This is just my suggestion for creating a group that gives you the widest range of abilities that will give you the best odds in your game. These 4 groups are the Specialist, the Marshal, the Support, and the Mage. Each group has 4 classes, 4 including the Blood Hunter and the Artificer, plus 2 more of my own design. That gives us an even 4 groups of 4. You're welcome to only use the classes in the base player's handbook, which would still give you 4 groups of 3. The flagship classes for each group are the Rogue, Fighter, Cleric, and Wizard, respectively. If that sounds like a solid party composition, then keep watching. Let's start with the Specialist and its poster class, the Rogue. The Specialist has a specific kind of niche set of skills and abilities. Usually dexterity based, in combat they focus on flanking or ranged attacks. Their increased mobility and stealth make them excellent scouts and infiltrators. The Rogue fits all of these boxes very nicely. They use their sneak attack feature to target an enemy's weakness or catch them off guard and deal devastating damage in a single surgical strike. Their stealth and mobility is unmatched in the game. They're fun and easy to play. An easy 5 out of 5 for new players. Next is the Ranger. Nobody's favorite. And if it is, you're lying. I'm kidding. The Ranger is a hunter. Their hunting and tracking abilities make them unique in the game. They're also very, very, very situational. Outside of that, they are still decent at flanking or ranged fighting. You can gain some access to abilities that let you overcome difficult terrain, and even some subclasses that give you an animal companion. There's lots of fun character potential here.
How dare you? This is my favorite class. Don't hate on it.
It's a decent class that lets you live out a very specific fantasy of the hunter survivalist. I give it a 3 out of 5. It's easy to play, but it may not be the most fun experience for first timers. Next is the Blood Hunter, not in the base handbook. This was created by a very popular entertainment company that you probably haven't heard of. And if you're watching D&D content on YouTube, you've definitely never heard of them. I'm personally not a big fan of this class, but I'm including it partially for its popularity and partially so I can keep my even 16 classes. I never forbid this class in my games, but I can't heartily recommend it. The Blood Hunter uses blood magic to seek and destroy evil creatures, sort of becoming a monster in the process to fight them.
So deep. So edgy.
I can't confirm this, but I imagine when they were designing the character, they were just looking over a character sheet like, hey, so just looking at the character sheet here, what resource aren't we using to its fullest? We have spell slots, obviously. We have abilities you can use an arbitrary number of times per day, or scaled off an ability score or your proficiency bonus. But what's another resource we could use? Health? Yes, the Blood Hunter is a class where you have to drain your own health to use your abilities. I can kind of see what they were going for, but again, I don't really like it. I give it a 1 out of 5 for new players. It's allowed but never encouraged at my table.
You're just a hater. It's cool, and you're a hater.
Thankfully, next up is one of my favorite classes in the game, the Monk. a martial artist heavily inspired by Shaolin monks or wuxia films. You don't need armor or weapons, which is dope. You can run fast, catch arrows, strike your enemies with a flurry of blows, and even hit your enemies so hard they lose a turn with your stunning strike feature. Just keep in mind that your ranged attack options may be limited compared to other classes in this group, but your mobility and sheer number of attacks should help you overcome that. If running into combat past the heavily armored knight and the spell slinging sorcerer, nothing but the clothes on your back, killing a dragon with your bare hands sounds like a good time, play a monk. 5 out of 5. Easy to play and always a blast. Your specialists should be nimble and sneaky and always keep their distance from the enemy. These classes, I feel, excel at this. But what about the boys who don't keep their distance? The martial classes are the tank to the specialist's flank. Armor and shields are a must, with one exception we'll get to. Main abilities are centered on keeping yourself on your feet until whatever beast you're facing isn't. Play a martial to fight on the front lines and protect your allies. Your focus should be on drawing the monster's attention to you, absorbing all the damage. You can take a hit better than anyone else. Fighter is the quintessential class for this group. You can take any combination of armor and weapons you want and use them to the fullest. One of the most flexible classes in the game, it's also the go-to recommendation for new players. My only issue would be the lack of built-in flavor. But that's part of the beauty. If you have a killer concept and a cool backstory, but no good idea of what class you might want, Fighter is your best bet. A heavily armored tank, a stealthy archer, a swashbuckling duelist, a hardened gladiator. These are all possible builds with the Fighter. It's a blank canvas, the vanilla yogurt you add your own berries and granola to. Otherwise, it can feel boring. 4 out of 5. It's simple, sometimes too simple. Next is our first homebrew class, the Knight. Where the fighter has a lot of versatility, the Knight trades that for a specialization in tanking. Heavy armor and a shield are pretty much required for this class. You get a pool of defense dice that scale off of your constitution modifier. You can add these dice to your armor or saving throws, or roll a pool of them and reduce the amount of damage taken. In what I feel is a new approach to melee fighting, you almost want to make constitution your highest stat and focus on keeping yourself and your allies alive, rather than being a strength-based damage dealer. Admittedly, this class feels unfinished. I've only had it tested once as of this recording, and while he had fun playing it, I still feel like something's missing. The Knight and its 5 subclasses are available for free in the description. Please feel free to play it and offer your feedback, or make your own changes and never talk to me again. That's also acceptable. I don't care. 3 out of 5 for new players. The unfinished nature and extra steps to use the defense dice could be confusing. Speaking of strength-based damage dealers, though, our next class, the Barbarian, is another of my favorites. Just like the Monk, you don't need to use armor. The rules technically say you can use light or medium armor and a shield, but 100% of players ignore this and just run into battle naked, so you can too. Your Rage feature lets you take half damage while boosting your own. It's great, it's fun, it's never a bad time playing a Barbarian. Play a Barbarian if you want to be the biggest, baddest thing on the battlefield besides the boss. The only drawback is you don't really have any relevant abilities outside of combat, but don't let your relatively limited role in the party stop you from making an involved backstory and one of the best characters at the table. I guarantee, even if all you do is say "I rage" and swing your giant two-handed axe around, you will be one of the most memorable characters at the table. 5 out of 5. Please play the Barbarian. I don't see enough of them at my table. If we're talking tanks, we have to talk about my other favorite class, the Paladin. If the fighter and the knight are knights, then the paladin would be the knight in shining armor. While you can get your powers from a divine deity or the higher planes, that's technically not a requirement. Paladins swear an oath. Their undying devotion to an ideal unlocks incredible power over evil. You can heal allies, smite demons, and cast a select few spells for support and battlefield control. You're going to have less flexibility than the fighter, less health than the barbarian, and less armor than the knight, but your spells and other features more than make up for this. In my heart, I want to rank this higher, but the nature of trying to involve an oath with your backstory and role playing that can be kind of complicated. So I say 3 out of 5 for new players. But don't let me stop you from playing the Shining Knight if your resolve is unyielding. I keep saying this one is my favorite. I should probably pick one so I stop repeating myself. While the paladin isn't necessarily beholden to any god or gods, the cleric is, leading us to our next group, the support. The support classes heal their allies, that's what they're known for, but they also have a host of other spells and abilities for boosting the party or debuffing their enemies. Pick support if you want to help your allies defeat enemies, even if you don't always deal the most damage yourself. Clerics are priests devoted to a deity. This grants them spells and abilities relevant to that god. The gods of life grant healing abilities. The gods of war grant attack spells. The gods of nature grant nature spells, so on and so forth. You can technically get most of these spells as any cleric, but your divine domain helps you find a specialization. The spells revolve around strengthening allies, weakening enemies, healing, and some damage. They're incredibly flexible, and famously have the most subclasses of any class, making your customization options virtually limitless. A powerful spellcaster with lots of built-in flavor. If learning how spells work in the game isn't daunting to you, then I give this a 4 out of 5. Alright, hot take time. Our next class, the Druid, is just the cleric again. Swap the level 2 features, Channel Divinity and Wild Shape, and they're almost indistinguishable. While the Druid has many different spells specific to that class, they generally do a lot of the same things that the cleric does. If you don't believe me, put the Raise Dead and Reincarnation spells next to each other, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Anyway, Druids serve the forces of nature. Their spells revolve around strengthening allies, weakening enemies, healing, and some damage. The only difference is you serve the forces of nature rather than a personified deity. And your Wild Shape feature lets you turn into animals, making them accidentally one of the best tanks in the game. The only reason they aren't a martial class is due to the limitations of Wild Shape and the fact that being in an animal form limits your ability to use your other primary feature, spellcasting, which is kind of important. 2 out of 5 for new players. Balancing Wild Shape and spellcasting can be confusing and challenging when you're still learning how to play. Another homebrew class, the Apothecary. This one is far more polished than the Knight, and I feel a lot better about the work that's gone into it. We're on, I think, the 3rd or 4th revision now. The Apothecary is an herbalist, a potion maker, a medieval physician. The closest you can be to a fantasy doctor. They can gather herbs or monster parts or anything else, however you want to flavor it. They use these to make concoctions. You can use your concoctions to buff allies or poison weapons and a host of other things. The game is also begging for another intelligence-based class, and I think the Apothecary delivers. If playing the Village Healer, a Potion Master, or the Bog Witch appeals to you, play an Apothecary. This class will also be in the description. Feel free to playtest and offer feedback. The email will also be in the description. I give Apothecary a 3 out of 5 for new players. Last and certainly not least, the Bard. The Bard offers a wide variety of spells, a list so diverse they actually only have a small handful of spells exclusive to them. They borrow their spells from everyone else. They have attack spells, healing spells, charm spells, illusion spells, even teleportation spells. They have a feature called Jack of all Trades, a name appropriate for this hyper-flexible class. Traditionally, the Bard is a performer, usually a musician or storyteller. They have another reputation not supported by these abilities that, I cannot stress enough, are completely optional. Your bardic inspiration boosts your allies and can fuel other subclass features. All in all, the Bard is a flexible spellcaster, with plenty of skills and abilities on the side that make them one of the most versatile classes in the game. Just keep in mind that being a jack of all trades makes you a master of none. However, this versatile nature does pair them nicely with our next class, and sort of forms an unofficial 5th group. Bard gets a 4 out of 5 for new players. You get a little bit of everything the game has to offer. I'll just take a point off for learning spellcasting. The Artificer picks up where the Bard leaves off as far as being a flexible spellcaster with lots of cool abilities on the side. They also start our fourth and final group, the Mage. Masters of the Arcane, the spell-slinging magicians. Artificers borrow their spell list from other classes, making them incredibly flexible. However, they lack quite as many healing and support spells as the Bard. They focus on combat and utility, making them an excellent stand-in for a wizard if your party lacks one. Although they don't have the high-level spells that a wizard does, so keep that in mind. They also have abilities that can act as magic items that you can distribute within the party. An intelligence-based smart boy who channels the power of the arcane to become Iron Man. The biggest drawback would be that it has some inherent technology flavor that may not be compatible with all settings. It's an optional class, first released in the Erebon sourcebook and then later updated in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. Not a sponsor. Either version can be used at your DM's discretion. While it's really a very different class, I would put the Pathfinder Alchemist in this same class, as it fills a lot of the same niches. 2 out of 5 for first timers. They're a lot of fun, but there's a lot of options you have to sort through in character creation that could be kind of daunting. Next is the most iconic class in this group, arguably one of the most iconic in the game, one of the most iconic in the genre, the Wizard. Wizards have the longest spell list in the game, by a lot. In fact, the only spells they don't have direct access to are healing spells. You can deal damage, you can protect yourself, you can cast illusions, charm people, transform things, teleport, you can do virtually anything. A veritable Swiss Army knife of magic. That's just about all they get. You have a spell for every occasion, and almost no abilities besides that. Another hot take here is that if you play the wizard to be the dedicated damage-dealing blaster caster, you've missed the point of this class. They're so much fun, but kinda like the fighter, they can feel boring if you rely too much on magic to give your character a personality. Wizard gets a 3 out of 5 for beginners. Next is the Sorcerer, in my mind the perfect mirror to the Wizard. Where the Wizard gets a huge variety of spells, the Sorcerer gets very few, especially at the lower levels. However, they sacrifice that versatility for power, a feature unique to them among all the other spellcasters. They get their power through a magical bloodline, or a blessing or curse, or some other magical mishap. There's a lot of room for interpretation in your origins. If you want to shoot monsters with magic until they stop being a problem, choose the Sorcerer. Another 3 out of 5 for new players. Last and definitely not least, the Warlock. A unique class with lots of built-in flavor. Like the Cleric, they serve a supernatural power. They create a pact with an entity or some other force beyond the material plane. The nature of your patron and your pact is completely up to you. The subclasses here are for the general theme of your patron or the abilities you want. You can serve a demon lord of the abyss or a celestial of the higher planes. You can serve a primordial Lovecraftian horror beyond your comprehension, and many more. Warlocks are unique spellcasters. You're going to have only 2 spell slots for most of the game, which can kind of suck, but you get them back on a short rest, which makes them stand out among the other spellcasters. You also have a host of other magical abilities that function almost like superpowers, such as permanent night vision, reading all languages, or casting Disguise Self and other spells at will. There is so much mix and match customization potential to this class, it guarantees no 2 warlocks are alike. As much as I love the Warlock, I have to give it a 2 out of 5 for new players. Like the Artificer, there's just a lot of different choices you have to make in character creation, and the fact that the pact is so central to your backstory, it can be daunting trying to come up with stuff for that. And that concludes our overview of the 16 classes in Dungeons & Dragons. Official, semi-official, and others. I want to remind you that the system I organize these classes in isn't a set rule. It's the guide I give my players at Session 0 when they're making their characters. I think it's pretty widely accepted that the Rogue Fighter Cleric Wizard party is equipped to handle just about any challenge in the game. Substituting one or all of these classes for another doesn't really change what your party as a whole can accomplish. If you take like a monk, paladin, druid, and warlock, you can still accomplish all the same things as that classic party without really sacrificing anything. Obviously, you aren't limited to all of this. As long as you keep the basic roles in mind and try to fill them, you'll be okay. You can build a cleric that fits the role of a specialist or a martial, while a druid or a bard takes the heavy lifting for support. You could take a fighter with a bow and proficiency in perception, survival, and stealth, and have him take the role of the specialist. One thing that I didn't really mention is I recommend 4 players to a game, and never more than 6, plus the DM. So you pick one from each group, and then if you have a fifth, you pick like an extra fighter or a bard. This is my recommendation for a well-rounded party that will give your table a fantastic game. Thanks for watching. Do you agree with this class overview? What's the best party composition to you? Am I a moron who doesn't understand anything about this game? Let me know down below. If you enjoyed this video and would like more content for running TTRPGs, please like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
You're just a hater.
Like the cleric, they serve a supernatural deity. Like the cleric, they serve... Are people gonna get this is like a Redditor bit? I feel like the brim is too wide. I look like a